But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 49er Faithful UK Live. I'm Nick Ludlam.
I'm Paul Hope.
You sounded a bit confused with that there, Paul.
You know me, Nick. You know me.
Get on, mate. Get on. All right. It's great to be back in front of all you guys again. We've got some wonderful things to chat about this week. Of course, we've got the Brock Purdy rule. We've got the Super Bowl 60 news. And of course, camp is well and truly underway. But Paul, where do you fancy starting this week, mate?
Well, you think I'm confused, buddy? Who will win? You're not late, buddy. Right on time. First comment of the night. So we had a chuckle win. We saw your comments. So I'll put your other one on there. So to be honest, it did confuse me, Nick. I was set up for the show and I saw, sorry, I'm late. I thought, oh, God, I forgot to go live. And you were just backstage chatting. Colin, good to see you as always, buddy. I've seen you representing the group on the chat on the Chapman, Breezy. So it's good to see other people getting out there. He who shall not be named later. We'll
have words. We'll have words with you about this, Mr. Alec.
Again, I forgot to post the link, which someone's kindly shared for us. So apologies, but obviously we're going live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So wherever you're watching this wonderful content. But tonight, Nick, I think we should start with the Brock Purdy rule. So it has been named the Brock Purdy rule. How are you feeling about the fact that we can suit a QB up and not count against the roster?
It's a good idea. I mean, if ultimately you look, the NFL is a business. It's going to want to put its best product on the television. What the Niners put out on the NFC Championship game was not its best product. The league doesn't want it. You can guarantee none of the other 31 owners want that sort of thing happening realistically because it doesn't do anything for their pockets. You know, they're all in this to make a lot of money at the end of the day. Of course, they love sport, but it is about the income. It's a good idea. I'm glad it's not going to be coming out of the game day roster, that it is an additional one. I'm a little bit miffed that it's not an additional slot on the full roster. I think they could have gone that far because now teams are going to then have to weigh up that whole, right, okay, am I going to carry that third QB? The Niners have done it a number of times. We're almost certainly going to carry 3 this year. But you are, in theory, putting other players at risk by not having that extra player available from one of the other positions, you know? So that would be my only worry. But after what happens, I'm all for it. How can we not be? How about you?
So just to clarify, Facebook user, I'm sure you'll drop your name in the chat. I didn't mean it didn't count against the 53-man roster. You're right. What I should have clarified at the start is it's not against the 46 on game day. Like you said, Nick, I think they're missing a trick there because obviously the Niners will be going into the season with 3 QBs. We know this, you know, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold. Obviously, delighted to see Josh Johnson signing elsewhere, which I'm sure someone will drop in the chat. But like you said, given the fact that it was the biggest game of the season, aside from the Super Bowl, NFC Championship game, 2 evenly matched teams, the fact that it was over as a non-contest pretty much straight away kind of shows the owners have got together and they've put this rule together. So, yeah, I was quite pleased about it. It's just, obviously, everyone's calling it the Brock Purdy rule because that's what it is. It was brought in because of that. And, yeah, I mean, hopefully, as 49ers fans, we won't need to see that rule. That's one thing I do want to say. I'm glad they've got it in. But equally, I'm hopeful that it's something that we won't have to see again. I know some of the talking heads have had fun on Twitter. So I've been in the office today. So I haven't been as active on social media. And I saw Rappaport tweeted something out, which Kittle jumped all over about the fact that we won't see CMC warming up as QB anymore. But I think we'll see a cheeky few throws from CMC in warm-ups. Warm-ups only, people. Don't get your knickers in a twist too much.
I'd be all up for him throwing a little trick play or something, a little gadget play. I mean, we've normally got at least 1 or 2 a year in us. So
Mr. Gowland, I'm sure you've spelled that wrong. I'm sure you're saying evening, lads, or evening in chaps. But all jokes aside, Gary Thorpe's joined us in the house, so he's putting having Trey kitted up for game day. It's all good. Luke Walsh is giving it the Nick Bosa thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Joined by Bebop. Good
Bebop,
to
how you
see
doing,
you
mate?
as always. And let's have a little look up on the chat. Alex Simpson. I'm the same as you, buddy. I can't believe Josh Johnson's got another job in the NFL. There is hope for us all, everybody. Let's start practicing. So let's have a little look. JJ will be back. He's like number 27. Well, he signed for the Ravens, so unless we're going to do a weird trade deal, and Colin has put, he's not sure about it, as Garoppolo was still on the roster. We already had the 3 QBs, but I think we touched upon this, Colin. I think we wanted to suit Jimmy, but he chose not to, and hence why his tenure came to an end. Lee Gowland to the rescue. So for people who are watching on Facebook, if you click on that link, it will authorize your name. And we're joined, Nick, by a VIP. None other than the hostess with the mostest. Mr. Ellis is in that.
The Welsh Wizard is here.
And let's have a little look. Joined by Simon. So your dudes and dudettes. So, Nick, I think we've covered the Brock Purdy rule. Nice start to the show. Where do you want to go next, buddy?
Well, I think we'd be remiss in not having a chat about what's probably going to be one of the bigger events in the Bay Area in 2026. The Super Bowl is going back to Levi's. We had Super Bowl 50. It's going to be Super Bowl 60 at Levi's Stadium. They've already announced that the majority of the warm-up ahead of the game is going to be held in San Francisco. It would be kind of cool if they're going to be spreading things around the Bay Area maybe a bit. That would be kind of nice to see. But that's huge news. You know, it's absolutely massive.
Well, it kind of broke, and then it was unofficial, and then people talked about it, and then I think I saw the official confirmation last night late on. So as Nick pointed out, I was in a rush coming home from work, and he had a fun with my text. I was like, yeah, we need to talk about the Super Bowl 26 being at Levi's. And he was like, now, Mr. Hope, Super Bowl 60, 2026. So keep me right. But yeah, I mean, let's face it. We've talked a lot on this show about the mother of all meetups, and we were hoping for a London meetup this year for a 49er Jag game. But I can already hear the cogs turning in El Presidente's head. Can you imagine? 49er Faithful UK, meetup, Super Bowl, the Niners are there, home Super Bowl. It just goosebumps thinking about it. Like you said, the fact that they've announced that a lot of it will be based in San Francisco and it'll get the city buzzing. I mean, I'm sure the tickets for that event will not be cheap, Nick.
No, they're not. I'm sure someone in the chat can be able to have a quick Google and let us know exactly what the sort of costs are. But aren't they somewhere around $3,500? And those are the cheap seats. You know, you're talking about some of the most expensive tickets on the planet. Really, it's insane. I'd love to go. Who wouldn't? But
well, my good friend Mike, who's a Rams fan, who joined us up in Newcastle for the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl. Not short of a bob or two, my mate Mike, works offshore, and he did look at going. Now, he normally is a kind of money no object kind of guy, does what he wants, and even he was like, yeah, I don't think I'll sneak this one past the missus. I think I'm going to have to join you boys up in Newcastle. And he seriously looked into going. I don't think he got much change out of, I want to say 10. And I'm saying 1,000, the whole trip, flights, hotel, tickets, and obviously once in a lifetime opportunity. But when you're talking that kind of money, you know, it's unbelievable. But as the Facebook user, whose name will be revealed later, extra home game, with it being the Super Bowl.
True.
Questions coming.
We've got to push for it. But I mean, now it's the question is, can we extend that Super Bowl winning window? You know, can we really extend it that far in front? I'm not so sure we can push it 3 years, but never say never. Never say never.
Who do you think you are, Lee Gowland? We're all about positive thoughts on this show.
We've had a pretty big window, in fairness. We've had a lot of bad luck. But heck, well, we'll see. I mean, you never know. I will have to win the lottery.
So 4 nights in
Dear Lord.
Vegas with Super Bowl tickets, 11,000.
And I bet that's per person as well. That's not for a couple, is it?
Steve O Supremo is in the house, joins us saying finally caught a show. So it is good to see people from across the pond. I know the time zones are a bit different, but we are a UK show. So it is 8 p.m. over the pond in the UK, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's always good to see new faces join us. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a pipe dream for me. Father, young family. There's no chance Tracy's signing that one off. But we talked about the schedule last week. Whilst we're on the subject of games, we might as well talk about the gold mine. So the news coming out of the 49er Faithful UK is we had targeted the Buccaneers game for the 49er Faithful UK gold mine takeover. It's been pointed out to us, Nick, that is the first game of the Salute to Service month. So rightly so, the Salute to Service goes to obviously the armed forces serving the country so well. So Lee is currently working on a plan B. Now, the plan B, I'm not 100% sure what that is, but if you are in the Facebook group, please head over and check out the post that Lee has pinned. He's put some details on there. If you're not on the Facebook group, if you just drop us a DM, if you watch the show, if you're on Twitter and you were thinking they're going over. But unfortunately, Nick, they're not looking at going for the Buccaneers game. I'm just going to put the scheduled dates up because, you know, I kept this from last week. So I believe one of the options is the Giants game, which is Thursday night football. Primary because that's Lee Gowland's 50th birthday. And what better way for it to celebrate than being out at Levi's?
True.
I believe they're looking at the Bengals game, week 8. And there was also a cheeky rumour going around that it could be the Rams game, last game of the season. Now, as I pointed out to Tracy last night, I did promise in 2023 family holiday would come first. But that game, Nick, would be a 2024 game.
It would.
Maybe I get that request in early.
It is. I like the technicalities. I think it is away from that. You are correct. Fair play.
And we have Matthew is the Facebook user.
There it is.
He's jumped on YouTube. So I know you commented earlier on the pod release in Facebook that you'll be joining us.
Oh, have a little look underneath. We've got news from Mr. Gowland.
Well, he did this to me last night on the pod. He was messing on. So breaking news. Put that on there first for everybody watching and got the comments. So they've decided it's going to be the Bengals game. So week 8, the 49er Faithful UK will be taking over the gold mine. If you're interested in going, obviously drop us a message. Now, the disclaimer, Nick, so there's no confusion, is you have to pay for your own flights, your own accommodation, but obviously the ticket into the gold mine, Lee is sorting it out. And when we're talking about lucky people who are going to get to go for the gold mine, none other than Mr. Pippin, who's had yet another win. Another win, Kev. He dropped that one in the group chat earlier. So thanks for joining us tonight, buddy.
Get in.
And Matthew's put there that he's a bit gutted about the Bucs game because I know Matthew was thinking of going over for the Buccaneers game at home and then heading out to Seattle on the Thursday, which obviously it's a shame. But at the end of the day, what we have to say is we do work closely with the organisation. We are just a fan chapter. You know, none of us get paid to do this. We do it for the love of the group. And obviously, if the Niners tell us something, we pass it on straight away. And as Lee has put there, we will definitely know by the end of June. But I have to admit, Nick, it's pretty exciting that we've gone from kind of a Facebook group, a presence on Twitter. We've now got our YouTube channel, and we're now talking about taking like at least 40 people out to the gold mine. And that Bengals game, it'll be a good game, given the Bengals are people's dark horses from the AFC. Joe Burrows is a quarterback that I like. But sadly, myself and you will not be there.
Shall not, no. Not unless that magic number comes up on the lottery. I suppose I have to play to win first, but yeah, it won't be me.
So, all jokes aside, Kev, you're a good friend, but I'll admit, when I checked my phone at lunchtime at work and I saw that you dropped that in the group chat, I thought, I don't know why I was kind of chuckling, because if I ever see Kev Pippin enters a competition, I just don't enter, Nick. There's just no point. So, and Matthew
He
was
has had
chatting.
some good wins of late.
He has had some good wins. So, Nick, we're another week closer to the NFL starting, which means OTAs. So OTAs have started. Now, before we went live, you were talking about a particular name of interest. I had to rudely cut you off because it flashes up in my top corner at 8 o'clock and we had to go live. So over to you, buddy. You were mentioning a certain player at OTAs that you've got your eye on.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come as no surprise to anyone. He's been touted a lot the last couple of days, really. Jacob Pearson, wide receiver, obviously out of the XFL. I think he played with Seattle, actually, in the XFL. He's looked good. But then you're looking at these drills, and we do need to take them with a substantial pinch of salt. Because when you have someone who is as fast as Pearson, he's going to win one-on-ones. It almost doesn't matter how good a corner is, because it's one-on-one. The corner has to stay with, and if he's got the speed for it, he's going to burn them. You know, it wasn't that long ago. Everyone must remember Marquise Goodwin absolutely destroying Richard Sherman in one-on-ones. And everyone was talking, oh, is Sherman done? Is this the end of Sherman? Is Goodwin the next big thing? Neither of which were true. Sherman wasn't done. He went on to have a pretty damn good season. Goodwin, bless him, as much as we all wanted him to succeed with all the things that he and his family went through, it never really kicked on for him. So we do have to take these things with a massive pinch of salt. You know, with these kind of drills, anyone who's particularly fast or particularly strong, they're going to jump out at us. They're going to really push to the fore. Whether or not they actually push on is another thing. Richie James is another one. He's flashed big time in these one-on-one drills in the past and never really kicked on for us. I always liked Richie James. I thought he did quite well last year with the Giants. He did very well for me at the end of the season in fantasy, actually. He picked me up a couple of wins that took me to a Super Bowl on that. But he never really pushed forward, you know? So we have to be careful. We have to make sure we're pumping the brakes when a little unknown player comes through in such a big way. Because is it his speed? Can that translate into actual playtime in a game situation when he's going up against 11 men? Because that's a completely different thing altogether.
Yeah, and I mean, what people got to remember as well, I get excited by any content on Twitter, especially as I don't watch other sports. It is paddless, it's practice, but it's another tick in the box. You see OTA down. I was looking at the dates, May the 23rd, 25th, 30th, 31st. Apparently, they'll be June the 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 8th before mandatory mini camp, which kicks off on June the 13th. And I suppose, given that the practices are paddless, there's no contact, it'll be difficult to gauge how effective some positions will be. But you know yourself, from your flag football, if you don't go to training, you don't get those reps in, you don't get that chemistry. And I remember to this time last year, we were all very excited about the connection Trey Lance had with Brandon Ayuk. They were working in the off season. Obviously, Trey Lance has decided to go and work on his mechanics, and he's worked with Patrick Mahomes and his coach. And I am excited to see the kind of camp battle that's coming up, Nick, between Trey and Darnold. As our good friend Jason Aponte said in this show, a lot of talk about Darnold being the number 3 pick overall. So has Trey Lance. People seem to forget that. And, I mean, I want the 49ers to win. I don't care whether it was me or you under center, but equally, it is ramping up to that time where there's a lot of talk. Ty Alston, who obviously shout out for the t-shirt, Club 85, on his channel, he's put a video out, Nick, saying why you shouldn't listen to the content creators. Now, myself and you, we're not content creators, so you can listen to us. But all jokes aside, I can kind of understand. I mean, we're not going to go down the rabbit hole of Trey versus Darnold tonight, everybody. Obviously, we are going to talk about it as OTAs go on. But one of the position groups that I'm looking forward to seeing, Nick, is the cornerbacks behind Ward because obviously last year we brought Ward in. I was very hyped. He's smashed my expectations. The fact that he rocks number 7 as well, he's a favourite of mine. But obviously, he's the unquestionable number 1. But we need to look about the depth and the pieces behind him. So that's something I'm looking at. Is there another position group you're looking at? Are you just as excited for me to see the cornerback battle?
I'm just excited, full stop. Let's be honest. I can't wait to see how this is going to pan out. Rightly so. I think that there's a huge amount of excitement around the 49ers again this year. The division is ours. I will keep saying that. I believe we're going to win the division really quite easily. There's no real contest there, but the sort of the build as we're sort of moving towards cutting down that roster, and when things start to get a little bit evil, and you start seeing players who perhaps you're really rooting for in camp, and they start getting cut and they're getting picked up by other teams. I remember a couple of years ago, you had that the linebacker who we ended up cutting, and I think did he end up going to Denver or something? I can't remember his name now. And then got traded to the Giants. It is a fun time of year, but this year I'm loath to hang my hat on anyone in particular. I say I'm trying hard to pump the brakes on Pearson because you don't know what's going to happen. You can guarantee whichever way I'm looking at this, I can promise you Kyle and John are thinking at a completely different angle, and probably theirs is going to be more clued in than mine. Like I say, we're not there, and I wish we were. That'd be nice for the Californian sunshine.
I mean, you're right what you're saying, buddy. I've had a few comments mentioned to me that obviously we're not there. You're going to be regurgitating things you've seen. But me and you are always clear about that. We're based in England. We're plugged into the likes of Ponte, Brad Graham. Yeah, Wales. Sorry, buddy. I should say United Kingdom. A bit more PC. Do you see the hatred there? Everybody was like, Wales. All right, mate. But I make no bones about it. I've said for the last number of years since I've been doing this podcast, and that's who I'm watching. That's who I'm listening to. That's where I'm getting my content from. And the reason we wanted to start the 49er Faithful UK live on a Tuesday at the time we do is I appreciate not everybody can stay up and watch Brad Graham go live or Larry Kruger, but we've made those connections. So we'll be bringing news to you guys that we're getting from Larry, that we're getting from Ted, who are based in the Bay Area, who are going to be there. We're not taking any credit for their work, but we're pointing that out. And you remember back to last year, obviously Jordan Mason, the hype train started there, and the Niners started to pump the brakes a little bit, because the worry you've got when you're a team like the Niners is people start to shine. You can only keep so many. And you obviously have to stash some on the practice squad. But what you don't want is people coming along, like you said, mind sweeping them from that practice squad. I mean, there's a lot of talk about J.A. Brown. We were high on him in our mock draft show. So obviously I'm excited to see where he goes on that. But I mean, Club 85, he's got some new toys to play with in training camp. He's got a couple of tight ends, and I'm excited to see whether that translates to anything different, because I think we've been crying out, Nick, for that 2 tight end set. We've been looking for the other half to George Kittle, and we haven't quite found it yet. Catch up on some of the comments. I know Bebop put there, losing JV was obviously a big blow. Obviously, I've suffered the same injury as JV, so I wish him all the best in his recovery. But who knows? Get himself right. Team-friendly deal. We've still got some cap space. And a lot of people are excited to see this guy. Joey Fisher.
And rightly so. I mean, you could look at Alex's comment above as well about Moody kicking it literally out of the field into the car park.
Well, to be fair, Alec, he was probably thinking, you've missed my comment, Paul. Now I started, Alec, and Nick, I've always got something planned. So the reason I didn't mention this to begin with, Alec, but we'll go there now, is there was also another rule change announced earlier today, Nick. Now, for some reason, not everybody's on board of Moody Mania. Not everybody's got a ticket for the Moody hype train.
Oh, they'll be on it soon enough. There's room for them all.
Now, yes, Alec, I did see that kick. And to be honest, how do you feel about the new rule? So have you had a chance to interpret the new rule yet, Nick? Or am I putting you on the spot
admit,
now?
I haven't. I haven't had a chance to fully go through it yet. I've had a bit of a manic couple of days myself with work, but I didn't see that there was much wrong with the original rule. So
It's basically the new rule specifies that the fair catch off a free kick, safety, or kickoff must occur beyond the team's 25-yard line in order for the ball to be placed at the 25. So apparently it's to do with player safety. So what they're saying is the emphasis is, unless you've got a dynamic kick returner, they're saying that most teams will probably opt for the fair catch because they're going to start on the 25-yard line. A lot of people are saying that it makes the Moody pick look even worse than what it was because it was a third-round pick, because a big reason for Moody was the big leg. The knock on Robbie was he couldn't kick it out the back of the end zone. So obviously what was happening is teams weren't returning that. But what they're saying is now with this new rule being brought in, it's kind of irrelevant. But I think people are forgetting, Nick, Moody is going to be the kicker for the next 10 years. The fact that he doesn't have to kick it out the back of the end zone, people, just means he keeps that juice in his leg for when he needs to nail those 65 field goals, 65-yard field goals.
When he's hitting the records, we won't mind so much then.
So, Nick, we've got a question because we like to be interactive on this show. So why don't we use juice more than what we do? Because he's another big weapon for us. So what would you say to that?
I'd say I think we use juice quite a lot. I know we don't use him specifically as a target very often. Very often, juice will be used as almost a decoy or as that extra blocker. He's going to be able to free up that space. And a lot of times, juice is going to be told on his play, right, okay, if someone gets through, you're going to have to abandon your route to protect the quarterback. So there's going to be times where, his intention is to get beyond the lines and become a receiver, but he can't because he's got to protect the quarterback. It's blocking is such an important part, more so for a fullback than it is with running backs, halfbacks. And he proves himself right there. We laud George Kittle for his blocking ability. Perhaps we don't say enough about Juice's blocking ability, because these are weapons as well. Juice is happy to get down in the trenches and get dirty and make those nasty blocks, and he does it quite regularly. We don't see him so much on the scoreboard, but he did catch Brock Purdy's first ever touchdown.
Now, I believe that Facebook user could be Alex Simpson's burner account, because I know Alex Simpson with the Juice shirt in his profile picture. I've seen a few tweets where Alec was like, please don't get rid of Juice. I've got too much money invested in this guy. So, Alec, if you start talking bad on Jack Coletto, I know it's because you're not rooting for him. I mean, fullback Jack Coletto has got a lot of people raving. Now, I'm not saying Nick going to take Juice's place, but what I think that shows people is Shanahan is going to play with a fullback in mind. Yeah. And obviously the fact that Juice still got a lot in the tank is going to be a big part of what we do. But it was good to see us take a chance on this kid. I've seen a few people. There was an article on Niners Noise by Jeremy Wolfhart talking a lot about Coletto. So that was a great read. If you want to go out there, always give credit where credit's due. Wayne, never need to apologise, buddy. Thank you for joining. But obviously, if you do watch the rest and catch up, drop a comment in YouTube, because we are trying to grow that algorithm. But no, I'm excited to see that OTAs have started, Nick. Now, obviously, I've just double checking on the comments. No, we're all caught up. So, as Bebop was put there before we move on, he's such a hybrid player. And Alec, we don't need to worry about the salary cap. We have a magician in Parag.
It's next year's problem. It's next year's problem. But we will see. You never know what might come from Coletto. He's definitely not going to play this year. I think we're going to see him stashed. Fingers crossed he can make it to the practice squad. I don't want anyone else touching him, because if the Niners are picking up a fullback, other teams are going to take notice of this. And okay, they think this guy could potentially in a year or two replace Kyle Juszczyk. They're going to look at him.
So Alec is laughing there. Now, to be fair, Alec, you threw me off my game a little bit, but it's okay, buddy. I recovered. So the ticker tape across the bottom. So before we move on, people, I forgot to mention that the 49ers will possibly be looking at 2 UK meetups, Nick. So we will be looking at one in the north, which does not necessarily mean Leeds, as Lee Gowland has said. And the second one will be London. Now, I will say London, but to the marketing company, they will class that as the South meetup. We are led to believe, Nick, that there will be on different dates. So looking at the 6 o'clock games we've got there, we've got week 1 against the Steelers, week 6 against the Browns, week 10 against the Jags, and the epic of all meetups, New Year's Eve. Now, we don't believe it'll be New Year's Eve. Like you said last week, there's not enough fireball in one place in the UK for the 49er Faithful UK. So if I was a gambling man, I'd be looking at week 1 for the Steelers because the Niners did look to host week 1 last year, but obviously the Queen passed away. And I believe the Jags kind of makes perfect sense with the Jags being a UK kind of market and rights team.
True.
Now, I don't know which way around they'll do that. Obviously, once we know, we will let everybody know. I mean, what used to happen, Nick, is we would just pick the weeks and then we would put a poll in the Facebook group and say, right, where does everybody fancy meeting up? But obviously with the Niners involved, we are kind of in big discussions with them. So they obviously lead where the meetups will be. But I'm excited. Fingers crossed I can make both. It would be great to see new faces at both. It would make sense to have them on separate nights because if you're going to have them on the same night, you're just going to split the group in 2. And that's not something anybody wants to see.
No, it'd be kind of cool. I mean, I can see the Jags being one, to be honest, especially if they were to do potentially maybe a joint meet with the UK Jags. I think that could be potentially quite fun. You're certainly going to get numbers at that sort of a meetup. But I mean, let's be honest, whichever weeks they choose, the group's going to show up. We always do. It's a huge amount of fun, guys. If you can get yourself to one of these meetups, they are amazing. Honestly, it doesn't just happen during the game. It carries on. You can guarantee it's going to go on long into the night, probably later than you'd like or care to admit to friends and family. But you won't regret it. You really won't. It'll be so much fun.
And to be fair, at all, they are family friendly. You don't have to be a big drinker to come along. That's not what we're saying. But equally, if you do want to come along and partake in a few alcoholic beverages, then the group's grown from strength to strength. I'm excited. Once the details are announced, obviously we'll share them on all our social medias. Like you said, Nick, then the plan's going to overdrive. You start booking the hotels. And it's one of my favourite memories, like when we met up in Leeds. I know you were in finals day, so you missed this bit. It was always great meeting up, but we met up in Leeds. And when we were walking through Leeds City Centre, all decked out in the red and gold, you could see people like, what are those guys doing? And we always represent. It's always good to see new and old faces. And like you said, Nick, if you've never been to one, you do need to turn up. And as Alec has put there, be 3 meetups as we'll have the Super Bowl. Now, to be fair, Alec, when I was looking back through some of my photographs from last season, I attended quite a few meetups. Like it used to be 1 a year. Then we had the 3 49er meetups. I was up in the Candlestick Inn with Brett, and we had a couple of mini meets in the Northeast. So for me, last year was awesome because we also had the NFC Championship game watch party, which obviously the result didn't go
exactly.
But yeah, we just wanted to put out there that the discussions will be starting soon, and once we know, we'll let everybody know. And we are joined by the Niner Sickness Podcast. So
get on.
Where do you want to go next, Nick?
Well, I think it's that time.
Hey, read my mind. I
think it's that time. And do you know what, Paul?
What time would that be? Oh, wait. Would you rather?
It is that time. It's when I do my best, knowing I'm going to be in therapy tomorrow after Paul gets his evil on, as he seems to every single week. But I think this week I'm going to go first. Now, I'm going to give you the results straight away. I'm going to go a different way on this. Basically, Paul, I'm going to offer you a Niners win at Levi's for you in attendance, or I'm going to give you a Niners loss with you at Levi's in attendance. But, and there's some big buts here, I hope. There's some caveats. Yeah, because otherwise you're going to be thinking...
I thought there might be. That was far too easy.
I might have gone soft. I might have gone a bit soft, potentially. So, the Niners win just, it's a regular season game. You're going to be up against, a fairly lowish team. Then Niners are expected to win quite comfortably. You're going over for 2-3 days. You're paying for the trip yourself. Quite important, that little fact. Because the loss, Paul, is Super Bowl 60 at Levi Stadium. However, the Niners are paying. And you're not just going over for 2 or 3 days. No. You're going to get picked up by a limousine, taken to the airport. You're going to fly business class all the way to San Francisco. You're going to be staying in a 5-star villa. You're going to be food brought to you. It's going to be 2 Michelin star food every single day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're going to eat the finest food in the world. You're going to spend the week leading up to Super Bowl at Radio Row, interviewing all the players. You're going to be, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, and all sorts. It's all going over. But Paul, you're not just going on your own to see this loss. Because the Niners know you can't go without Tracy and the girls. So they're going. Now, they know that Radio Row isn't for them. That's for you. So what the Niners are also doing is they're giving the girls a credit card with near unlimited funds. So they can go and visit anything they want. They can shop to their heart's content. They can do whatever they want in the Bay Area. They're not even just restricted to San Francisco. They can go anywhere. But you are going to have to watch the Niners lose the Super Bowl. So we know Tracy's watching.
I was going to say, before you go any further, you have definitely spoken to Tracy. Because last week, everybody, I gave Nick the hat to speak to Tracy. Now, before I answer your question, I will share this. So I got in from work earlier, everybody, and I was like, right, I need to prepare for the show. I need to do a Would You Rather. Now, scarily, Tracy came up with a very similar one where it was you had the chance to go over, but you watched the loss. Now, that is what's thrown me, because I'm like, hang on, Nick.
There is no collusion. There is no collusion here at all. But so, yeah, Paul, you've got all of that. And you're going to have to tell Tracy and the girls that, if you decide against it and you're going to take the little 3-day trip on your own to watch the Niners win in week 6.
So last few weeks, everybody, I've had lots of fun going back and screenshotting Nick looking like... Now, to be honest, this is a rather evil one because the fan in me is like, don't want to see the Niners lose. And I'm transported back to those horrible feelings in Newcastle when the Chiefs beat us. And Tracy was there and she told me off because I was sulking for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. That's one of the worst feelings ever. I was there with all my buddies, the group. We were winning and then we weren't. But the fact that you threw in the girls.
Whoa, hold on, Moshery, as well. By the way, the loss during the game, you're going to be sitting with Jerry Rice and Joe Montana.
To be honest, as much as it's going to pain me to see the Niners lose, that would be an awesome opportunity. And I think the fact that you threw in the family, you knew my kryptonite there, and the fact that Tracy watches every week, and equally as well, watching from the outside in, seeing the build up for the Super Bowl is always great. And like you said, the fact that if I went with option number 1, I'm literally flying in for a couple of days and flying out. And to be honest, Matthew Johnson's watching. He's been really good in the DMs with offering me that option. Paul, you can get out this year if you're flying on the Friday. But when I go, I want to go all out. I've seen your trips. I've seen Lee's trips. One. So I want to be. And as much as Tracy isn't the biggest fan in the world, shock horror to everyone, she does want to be there when I make it across, and I would love to share that experience with Tracy and the girls. But I have to give you kudos because you've been in the lab. Now, Alex Simpson, stop giving him ideas because before I tell you mine, I got a notification at work and I logged out on my lunch break. Yeah. And Alec, you were going to be the man who shall not be named. I'm not even going to read yours out. No. It was that evil. Me and Nick.
Physically sick. Alec, I'm going to tell you this now. I have felt better whilst having my infusions for the drugs to stop multiple sclerosis than I did reading that tweet. It was
Yeah.
abysmal. Honestly, you should hang your head in shame, young man.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. If you want to know, go check Alec out on Twitter. But I'm not even going to give it the airtime because, to be fair, Alec, he united me and Nick because we both said how evil it was, and neither of us would be that evil to each other. Or maybe I'm setting myself up for. So let's have a look before I ask. Lee has put his first trip was a Friday to Monday. It was an experience he'll never forget. So don't underestimate. And I get that. I mean, to be fair, Lee, on the 49er Faithful UK website, you shared an awesome story of why you made that journey and what it meant. But I think I would like to be there longer. And I've answered, Alec. I am. Oh, I'm not answering your question if that's what you mean. I thought you meant yours.
But yeah, he has decided he is taking the loss. He's taking one for the family, not just the team, the family. Fair play.
I am. So, Nick, my would you rather? So, I'm conscious that you are not just a fan of the 49ers, you are a fan of all Bay Area teams. Now, I know the Warriors didn't quite do it for you this year, buddy. And as a fair weather NBA fan, I dip my toe in and
I'm
out.
the same.
Now, to be honest, I did see something rather interesting earlier when I was preparing for the show. It was old footage. LeBron James was playing for the Miami Heat, and a guy had to nail a half-court shot to win $1 million. And that got me thinking, now that would be rather interesting. Now, the scenario is you've been flown out by the Warriors. You stood on centre court. Steph Curry, all the boys are watching. Ball in your hand. You have one shot. If you nail that shot from the half court, you don't win $1 million. You win something far, far better. But before they reveal that, what they say to you is, we have a little envelope here, Nick. Now, what you can do is not take the shot, and you can take the envelope. Now, the envelope is for you and you only. But if you take the shot and you nail it, let's just say the 49er Faithful UK would be very, very happy. However, if you miss the shot, you return back home across the pond empty-handed. Now, before you answer, the caveat would be in that envelope, a ticket to the game. All expenses paid, but it's for you and you only. But if you nail that half-court shot, let's just say you'll be joined in the gold mine by a fair few, the 49er Faithful UK. So you're on the clock. What are you going to do?
I got to take the shot. I'll fail. I'm promising you right here, right now, there is no way I am ever going to make it. I'm failing, but I'd have to try. There's no way I could. I couldn't go and sit there fully knowing there could have been more. There's a very small, albeit 0.0000000. There's a lot of noughts before I hit the one in there. Chance of me hitting it. I'm not going to make it. I don't have the ability. But I'd have to try.
Because you sound so evil to you, what I had a vision of, I saw the Warriors do something similar where they get a fan out and they have to roll a ball and it goes up the ramp and it goes into a bucket with money on. And a young lady rolls a ball up and Steph Curry comes from nowhere, catches it and dunks it in like the $10,000 prize. So I could just imagine you're there on the half centre court. Steph Curry's watching and as the ball leaves your hand, Steph's already nailed one for you. But to be honest, I did have a sneaky suspicion you would go with that one. But given my track record of recent weeks, it was worth it to see the look on your face when I offered you the envelope. You were like, what are you going to do with that one? But I think it's safe to say you out-eviled me today. But we can both agree Alex Simpson is the evilest of them all.
Worst ever. Hey, it's done.
Just catching up on the chat. So to be fair, Matthew, it is something I have considered. But as I've said to Lee off air, when I do go out, I do want to be able to share that experience with Tracy. And at the moment, with the ages of the girls, It just wouldn't be fair. But I'm not going to lie. When I saw the caveat of 2024, I wouldn't be breaking my promise, because I told her 2023 I wouldn't be doing anything. And as Matthew has said there, it's all about the family. And I think he's referencing a certain movie franchise. So on those thoughts. Now, before we finish off, Nick, because I know we said we wouldn't just keep rolling for the sake of rolling, I just wanted to give a shout out to Let's Talk Sports. So those people who follow me on social media will see that Dan has kindly sponsored my flag football team to the tune of $500 or 400 English pounds, which to a grassroots organisation like the Steel River Stingrays is invaluable. I am proud to say that we've spent that money on the end zone, pylons, an official match ball, and we've still got some left over, but it's a massive help. And I just wanted to give Dan a big mention and also a cheeky plug for Friday. So on Friday, 6:30 UK, Brett Sinclair, the man, the myth, the legend, the owner of the Candlestick Inn, will be joining me on the Paul Hope Show on Let's Talk Sports. And he has promised me, Nick, he's bringing the fire. He has sent me some of the things he wants to talk about. So if you've got nothing better to do on Friday at 6:30, maybe switch the translation comments on. As Lee Gowland said, Brett, not me.
True.
You're a good friend of mine, and I don't want you to hurt me. Lee Gowland said that, and I'm putting that on record. But all jokes aside, it would be great to get as many people watching. And also, Nick, if anybody else fancies jumping on the Let's Talk Sports show, hit me up on my DMs. The 49er Faithful UK are well represented on Let's Talk Sports. We're here to take over. And you don't have to talk 49ers. I've done a couple of shows recently about flag football. We can talk NFL. But I just wanted to give Dan a big shout out and obviously a cheeky plug for my show.
Get on, mate. I think it is coming to that time, guys. Don't forget, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. We are trying really hard to grow this as best we can. And you are the people that will do that for us. It's not us on here. It's you guys voting with your fingers on, by clicking those buttons. So please do, guys. Paul, have you got anything else you want to say, mate?
Well, we will be back next week, 8 p.m. UK, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And all that is left to say until next week, Nick, is go Niners.
Go Niners.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart, like Joe Montana in the corner, deep court.